Blog Talk Radio.
Hello and welcome to the Alchemy Sisters. You are here with Mandee and Jennie. Hi, Jennie. How are you tonight?
Doing pretty good, Mandee. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm excited. I'm just enjoying this week. I had a really fun astrology reading this past weekend, and that was a new experience for me. We're going to have our friend Jen Edwards on the show soon here so that she can tell all of our listeners all about her amazing skills. She does birth charts, and then each year she can read what your energy with the moon cycles are looking like and when it's good for you to act upon your dreams and intentions and whatnot. And it's just wonderful. So I really enjoyed that experience.
Yeah, I went on her website after you had told me that you had session with her, and I did see that she had some moon phase astrology readings, which intrigued me. So I have to make sure my birth time is right, and I'm going to set up a session with her so I can get a reading. I'm excited as well.
Oh, good. Beautiful. Yeah, it was really cool because we have like a full moon coming up next week, and she's like, oh, I'm so glad you connected with me because there's really so much that you can manifest and do in this moon that's coming up for you, this full moon, not new moon, but this full moon that's coming up for you is going to be really powerful. So she encouraged me to set a lot of intentions and talk to me about what that kind of looked like personally for me. And it was just really nice, and to kind of just have, it was neat because she also shares your birth chart. So I was able to see kind of the lines of where I came in and what things are looking like and how far I've come. And it was a really neat experience.
Excellent. I always love a good astrology reading. I love a good reading across the board, but definitely astrology. It's one I don't practice very much of, and always am looking for talent in that genre, and she has it. So, yeah, I can't wait to schedule an appointment.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it. So if you're new to our show, we are the Alchemy Sisters. I'm Mandee Elam, and we were just speaking with Jennie McDaniel. And each week we just host a podcast so that we can connect resources and we can help other women and people who are in need of healing to for anything that they need, really, to connect with resources, to connect with healers, to connect with like-minded people, to have a space where you're just held for who you are and able to kind of navigate this multiverse and ascending and growing spiritually and becoming more conscious, because it involves a whole lot of steps and a whole lot of possible modalities. So we're just excited to hold this space for anyone who wants to be a part of this, and it's beautiful. And tonight we're excited because we have a returning guest, Miss Nui Louise, who is just fantastic. She's a women's intuitive healer, and she's the founder of the TP, and she'll tell us all about. So welcome, Nui. We're so excited to have you back.
Oh, thank you, Mandee and Jennie. Thank you for having me again. I love coming on and jamming with you too. It always feels like just a fun little party.
It's such a fun party. Will you tell our listeners a little bit about what it is you do and how they can get a hold of you? And we'll definitely repeat that information at the end, but we like to start with it as well while people are listening.
Yeah, so my name's Nui. I'm the founder of the TP, which is a physical women's space in Armidale, New South Wales in Australia. And I personally do oracle readings. I've just developed a beautiful program called Ascending in Circle, which is basically 6-week blocks where we come one week and we focus on growth and learning or unlearning, and then the next week come back and sit in circle and go through the healing process and integrate. And one of the driving forces behind that was I've done a lot of programs online, and they're wonderful, but I just really felt a call this year to bring back physical presence and take that process in the physical presence, because it's nice to do things at home by yourself, but there's nothing like sitting in a room full of strangers and pouring out your heart and realizing how alike we all are and that we aren't alone on this journey. And so those circles commence next week on the full moon, so I'm really excited to delve into that. and ascend through the, you know, from this physical form and get in touch, hopefully, you know, by the fourth circle group lot, like block of 6, we would have ascended up into the quantum field and have a great understanding of what it is to be human, but also have the ability to create our own reality. So that's where I'm headed right now, which is really exciting.
Very
yes,
exciting.
That is just beautiful. I think it's just wonderful, and it's been so nice to witness how much you've evolved and grown. And the last time you were here, we discussed, you know, so much about moon cycles and tapping back in, and it's just so cool and admirable to see how much you're growing in this space, and you just continue to each time.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I've really had to learn not to restrict myself in my gifts and in my medicine. I think that happens to a lot of us on this path. We discover a gift about ourselves, and we all of a sudden take that on as an identity, and then we have to stick to that thing. And it's like, no, you know, I'm learning that. I'm completely blown away by our ability as women with our menstrual cycle and going through that whole process. And I'm really excited to incorporate that into not just personal development and self-healing. I feel like there's a big gap in the market when it comes to a lot of coaching and stuff like that, is we miss out that vital part of what it is to be a woman and tapping into the cycle. So with the ascending circles that I've created, the second level will be focused on that, on the menstruation part of it, and tapping into your cycle for your creativity and your intuition and all of that, because that is one thing that reminds us every month that we're human. It doesn't matter how intuitive we are, or, you know, how frequently we get in the quantum field. We will always be brought back down to earth by our bleed. So I'm excited to incorporate all that I've kind of learned along my journey and see what else flows through me by doing this, because it's definitely a divine creation, along with a lot of things that we do in life, I guess. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Nui, it's very interesting. I use the rhythm cycle myself for birth control, natural birth control, and so I'm aware of my cycle. So I was going to ask you a quick question. I don't know if there's a quick answer or not, but where would you say in our cycle we're the most creative, or is it different for each person, or how would you answer that?
Okay, so it is definitely individual to every person. You've also got to take into account how you are with the moon and how you are with the seasons. But I'll try and break it down like this. When you're just coming off your bleed and you're in that cycle, that's when you'll probably get your most creative hits. So you'll get a lot of inspiration, and so you receive like some wild ideas. That's your maiden phase, and you know, when you're in those maiden years, you're boundless in that. So you know, a great practice is to just write down any possibilities of creation. And then when you go into your fertile phase is when, you know, the practical part of you will come along and go, that's really great, but like, what's practical here? And how can we practically make these happen? So if you're looking at like actioning creativity, the mother phase, like the fertile phase of your cycle, is very good for actioning. But then, you know, you go along to your PMS phase, and that's going to show you what's standing in your way if you want to actualize that. And that's why most of the time we're happy and happy-go-lucky throughout our cycle. Then we hit that PMS phase and we hit a wall, and that's because there's stuff that needs to be cleared in order for us to actualize what we've just had flow through us. But for me, one of my most creative times is my bleed. It never used to be like that at all. But when I bleed, if I make the space for myself, that's when I will receive not only guidance on what I need to do, but on how I need to action it as well. And I think that's the true gift of making space when you bleed, is that you're just allowing yourself to be in the presence of what is, not out, you know, doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that. So I would just invite you for 3 months to track your energy levels and how you're feeling on the creative flow front. And after 3 months, you'll probably find specific phases that are good for you, and you may even find certain days. Like there's usually like day 3 of my bleed is usually a power day for me, where if I make the space to sit down, I can guarantee that I'm going to get intuitive hits or creative inspiration or healing as well. So, you know, tap into your womb. It's very wise. It'll have all the answers for you.
Yes, I agree. It's so cool. I haven't studied that too much, and I do know the phases like the maiden and the crone and the fertile space. I do know the phases, but I wasn't sure how to associate that with creativity. But thank you for breaking that down. And then I do take into account that everyone's a little different. And like you said, it changed while you're bleeding. Now there's more this energy. It's really cool.
Yeah, and also
so
looking
cool.
at where you're bleeding when the moon is. Like I struggle to bleed at the full moon. I struggle, but you know, I've been bleeding a lot at the full moon, so it's kind of like, here you go, here's a little challenge for you. So I'm getting better. I'm getting better at it.
I go back and forth. It's kind of funny when I met you, Nui, Nui and I met at the Rise Sister Rise retreat with Rebecca Campbell in upstate New York, in Rhinebeck, New York, and it was cool because we did like a little bit of work around that. Around our moon cycles and being mindful of it. And at that time, I was very much bleeding with the full moon. And then the past year or so, it synced more up with the new moon. And now it's pushing back towards, it's kind of in between and pushing back towards the full moon. So I wonder, and I kind of have longer cycles anyway, but I wonder if that's natural maybe for us to kind of sometimes be synced up with the full moon and then sometimes not, depending on where we're at in our birth chart or anything like that even. Who knows?
You know, and I think that's true. Like, you've got to take charts. I would also start noting where the moon is, what sign it is in when you bleed. I know that for a year I bled when the moon was in Aries, which was really interesting for me to look back on, and I freaked out because I wasn't as far along in my path as I am now, so I freaked out. I'm like, oh my God, what does that mean? But, you know, usually I bleed on new moon, first quarter, full moon, last quarter, but these last couple of bleeds, my bleed's extended and I'm bleeding on the full moon a lot. So I haven't experienced this consistent bleed in one moon phase, so I'm actually just taking this time to sink into what that means for me, because I struggle, like I said, I struggle. So I think there's a lot of lessons in that for me. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And, you know, for every single woman listening, that's what it's about. It's about just, you know, tracking what's going on with you personally. And I was watching earlier, a woman in one of my sisterhood groups was just like feeling really irritable today. And, you know, and I thought, you know, that could be a combination of moon cycle. And sometimes like with my own, when I menstruate and whatnot and my own PMS, like I'll have a day or two where I'm incredibly irritable. And then I think it's also some of it's intuitive hits or things like that. And I think it's really important to honor where your moods are at each and every day. It just seems to be a vital piece of all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, honoring our emotions is the key to accepting ourselves, I think. And I think that's why I love working with the menstrual cycle so closely, because we are going to do that every month, and our emotions are going to change. And even if you look at it on a physiological level, our bodies, our hormonal changes, that's what's happening. But if we can take some guidance from that and use that bodily information as a guide to accepting our emotions on that deeper level and really unpacking our shit and owning it, you know, I think that's important. That's why, you know, I love my PMS phase now. It's one of my favorite phases because I just feel so free. It's my wild woman, and I've allowed her over the years to become free in that space and become free in her emotions and her anger. And I find healthy ways to express them now, not just spraying it on anyone who walks in my path. So, you know, practice and presence really makes a difference when it comes to our cycles.
It must. Speaking of what Jennie was talking about, I kind of do the same thing where I've been off birth control for a long time now because it just did not agree with me. And I know that that's a big topic of discussion. And you may have some thoughts or wisdom around this. You know, what are your thoughts around trying to, you know, authentically track your cycle when you're using birth control? And also, what about, like, you know, even if you're not, or you're PMSing and you have crazy pain symptoms and you want to use some ibuprofen or things like that to numb it. What are your thoughts on that? Pharmaceuticals in the womb space, I suppose.
So my thoughts would be it's definitely it's harder to know what is yours and what is fake, basically. I mean, the pill and things like that are synthetic drugs, so they're designed to not allow our hormones to work naturally. So on the basis of that, what we're feeling isn't necessarily what we're really feeling. It's what something is telling our body to feel. I couldn't take birth control personally. Every single one I tried made me extremely angry. And I was lucky that I found a doctor who worked with me and realized that I had bad acne, and I know a lot of women go on birth control to control that. But my doctor had found that I had an overload in copper and a deficiency in zinc, all because I had really bad constipation. So, that's the thing is, like, our bodies, like, even though it's going on in our womb space, we've got to remember that all of our organs around that area also play a huge role. So if you're someone to get, cramps and stuff like that, it's really important to practice connecting with your womb space. I can't tell anyone, like, what's going on, but I'm just about to commence training for a womb and fertility massage course. And the reason I wanted to take this is because I know that a lot of women store pain and fear in our womb space. It's, when we get scared or when we feel unsafe, we automatically clench our lower stomach and we put our hands over there. And this has been going on for generations. And so my whole focus in doing this course was to really give another modality for women to be able to clear that space, because if you're experiencing any kind of pain, something needs to be shifted. We're not meant to be in pain. We're meant to, it's just the way that our womb space swells up when we bleed, there's discomfort there, but we're not meant to be in excruciating pain. And I think a lot of women think that it's normal, because I think PMS and cramping has kind of been like sensationalized, like it's all a part of the process, but it's not. It's not meant to be like that. We're not meant to be in pain. It's meant to be an easy flowing process that allows us a lot of gifts. So if you're someone who is experiencing that, I would definitely go and speak to a doctor who is more naturally inclined and not someone who's just going to put you straight on something else to, numb the pain, a Band-Aid solution. Look at your nutrition, because that has a huge part in all of that. Your liver, our liver is really important when it comes to letting go of hormones in our body. So if we've got excess fat in our liver, our estrogen isn't being let go of properly, also through our bowels. So if you've got issues going to the toilet, then you'll probably experience issues with your bleed. So many aspects play a role in our functioning of our womb space that I think for women, taking back that responsibility, and really finding doctors that will listen to you, because a lot of the time we go to doctors and they just shrug it off, say, oh, it's just your period, here, take this. And no, it may be just your period, but it's not meant to be like that. So keep searching until you find someone who listens to you and guides you home to listen to your body, because sometimes we just need to be taught how to listen to our body. We're not taught that these days, so seek that out.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. When I lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee, I got wind of this exceptional healer. She's a kinesiologist and basically did muscle testing on me, and I would have to take ibuprofen. It was going on for about a year now, 2 ibuprofen per cycle, because it would just be really intense, the cramping, and I'd have to go do something, and I wasn't able to think straight. I guess I might be kind of a wimp with pain because I don't have a lot of it. But anyway, I had to take ibuprofen. I'd take some Advil, and I think that was a little easier on my body, but I didn't like that. I was using it as a crutch until I could figure out what was going on. But I got wind of this kinesiologist. She did some muscle testing. I started taking this supplement, which was a liver detox supplement. Gone. cramps gone. Had my typical, I know it's coming and I feel it, but it's not, and occasionally it'll pop up a little worse, but most of the time it's very, very manageable now. She certainly gave me a couple more supplements, chromium. I don't know if that had anything to do with the lightening of the pain, but I definitely think it had something to do with the liver detox, because if the liver is not functioning properly, the body can't let go of things properly. Weight, stress, flow. So, yeah, I think there's something to that liver thing, and everyone on this planet should go ahead and take a look at even just a milk thistle supplement, as little as that, let alone a full-on detox if one wanted to, because we're surrounded by toxins, and a lot of the foods we eat have preservatives. Even if you're relatively healthy, some of the foods still have preservatives, and we're breathing the air, and it's a good idea to do the detox for the liver.
Yeah, and also, like breathing in other people's perfume and stuff. It's like we don't realize how much of our environment has a huge effect on us. Even I stopped using body wash full stop, because I looked at the effects that it has on your endocrine system. I'll do a scrub once a week, but otherwise I stopped putting body wash on my body because I couldn't find one that wasn't full of crap. And ever since I stopped using body wash on my yoni, it's changed the way that she is, you know what I mean? Like her natural pH and all of that. The smell is different. Like everything is just so much nicer in that space. And I know that it's had a full effect on the rest of my body because I'm not soaking in that toxin. So even little things like that make a huge difference to our wound space and our ability to flow a little easier. You know what I mean? We're not lathering ourselves up in crap every day and then going, why do I feel like crap? Because it's everywhere.
Yeah, I like Dr. Bronner's.
Go ahead, Jennie. I'm just saying, I'm glad we're talking about it. You go, girl.
I was just thinking, I went through a phase where I had to get rid of all chemicals that I was putting on my body. This was like 10 years ago. And even some of the natural soaps had too much of an intense perfumey smell. So I went to Dr. Bronner's, and I don't know if they have that in Australia where you're at, Nui, but it's like a multi-use soap. You can use it to wash your hair, wash clothes, wash your body. Very natural. There's a documentary on Netflix called maybe something like The Magic Soap Box, Dr. Bronner. And he's a brilliant German man who is just eccentric as all get out. And in my opinion, he's probably got some of the best soap on the market. He's been around since, I don't know, 50s or 60s or something.
I'm going to have to try. So we do have Dr. Bronner's here, and it is a little bit expensive. So my sister swears by it, and I'm just like, so you know what, I'm going to take the plunge and buy some, because even if it's just for my hair, because I use like organic, all kinds of shampoo, but I used it yesterday, and even then I got that smell, the smell that goes, something in this is not right. And so I was thinking, like, what am I meant to do? I'm buying all the things that, they advertise to me, but so I'll try Dr. Bronner's, because I think, that might be a good, and because apparently that you don't have to moisturize once you use that either, do you? It does something to your skin.
It's very soft and soothing, so I've never actually used it on my hair, but I've used it for everything else, and it is soft and fantastic. So you'll have to come back and tell us how you feel about the results and if you had to use some conditioner with it. But they do have tea tree type of the Bronner's. They have peppermint, rose, lavender, all these different kinds. But the tea tree, I think, would be fantastic for the hair, too, and a little extra cleansing.
Wonderful. Thank you. Good tip.
I love that stuff. I used it a bunch when I was like camping, is when I got to know it, because it's eco-friendly and stuff. And then Jennie came to visit me actually this past summer and left a little bit, and I used it up, and then it made me buy more because I like it so much. And I like all the different scents that they have. I really like the peppermint and the lavender and the tea tree and stuff. And it just feels a lot better and a lot cleaner. That's been something that's been rising with me really recently, is the chemicals again. Because I'm like, this is really, I had a vocal cord dysfunction thing happen where we thought I was like having anaphylactic reactions about a year and a half ago or so. And it turns out I was just highly sensitive to my environment and everything that was around it. And so I had to learn all these breathing techniques to push all of that out. And I had to even practice if I was around like pollutants or if I was around like cigarette smoke or things like that, because I had to make sure that I made sure my vessel was breathing regardless, and that my vocal cords didn't, it's kind of like your throat kind of shuts off. And so it's this weird thing. And so I've gained a little bit of a tolerance again around chemicals. And just over the past couple of weeks, I'm like, this really just is not in aligned with me. Then I'm doing this whole liver detox thing too. So it's interesting. Nui, I was going to ask you, what about for young women and little girls? Like, I remember when I was like 10 and 11, and I'm sure I had liver things going on at that point, just because I, was a kid who grew up on preservatives and, Campbell's soup diet and things like that. What's your suggestion for like all the parents out there and the moms and the young girls who are just starting this process? I know I started young. I was like 10 when I first got my first bleed. So I'm curious about your wisdom around that.
So young girls are starting to bleed a lot earlier than they, it's down to 8 years old now, and sometimes even younger. And I put this down to the hormones that are in the meat and stuff that we eat, because we're constantly absorbing all these hormones. And for young girls, and I think it's a process of, as mums, we try and do the best job that we can, right? Like with the tools that we have. And I think it's time for us to all kind of admit that we don't know everything, but what can we learn? Because when we've got children, they can't decide necessarily like what they eat or how they eat it. It's up to us as parents. And so as mothers, I think if we get back in alignment with our bodies and we start to tap into that, then we're better able to guide our children towards that. I mean, I've got a daughter. I'm definitely not I definitely don't eat everything organic and all of that kind of stuff. It's a slow transition for me and my family, because if I go, I'm going to do this and cut everything out, that's not sustainable for me, not who I am as a person. So it's about making small incremental changes that over time will lead to big changes, and one day you'll be in that space where your family is eating happy, healthy, meals. For young girls, I think ensuring that there's enough vegetables and fruits in their diet, we definitely don't get enough of that. Even as adults, we have to remind ourselves to eat more, nutritious stuff. We've grown up on a fast food kind of way of living, and so creating that, teaching our daughters about their body, and not from a space of fear, from a space of wonder and excitement, and that this is our own precious temple on the inside and the out. So not only is it about the way that we look, but it's also about what we put inside that's within our food and our thoughts and, our environment and things like that. For my daughter, I know that she is very unsettled around the new moon cycle. I think I mentioned this on the last podcast. She gets really irritable the couple of days before new moon and a couple of days after. She doesn't sleep very well, and I know that she has pretty crazy dreams because she rolls around kind of moaning all night and talking. And so I think that alone is going to be and then, come full moon, she doesn't like to sleep. She's full of beans. So that's something for her when she reaches that age that I can go, well, this is what I've noticed about your cycles. When it comes to the moon, now it's up to you. This is all the knowledge that I have, but now it's up to you to decide what your body's telling you. I can only teach you so much. So I think for mothers, it's really about getting in tune with our bodies, healing our wounds around that, and so we can pass it on to our daughters, not pass on, the pain and the trauma and the fear that's been passed on for so many generations. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be an individual process for everyone, I assume, and all I know is that being a mother of a daughter myself who's 6 years old, I don't have all the answers, definitely not. And whenever I'm feeling confused, when I'm looking at her going, is she going to grow up to be a decent human? I have to check myself and say, am I being a decent human? Am I providing her with a decent human environment? Because that's all that I can really control. So, yeah.
That's all we can do is lead by example and hope for the best. and as we get better, then it trickles down, and we just have to do our best each day and forgive ourselves. And that's just it. I know there's so many women who feel, so, moms especially, so much guilt, like trying to keep up with all the healthy eating and the preservatives. And, 30 years ago, when I was younger, 40 years ago, it was a totally different thing that we thought was healthy than now, and a lot of it's about just doing the best we can now. And I think it's just important to know that, as you were discussing, that the pain part of it is really like a nice compass to show that there's an imbalance. Because I was one of those people who always grew up thinking that a lot of pain with my period was really normal. And in fact, maybe I was just more fertile or like more of a woman because I had more pain and it was longer and I had more cramps. So I think that this is a brilliant discussion.
Yeah, and for anyone out there that does have pain, I think, a dark chocolate is a really great medicine for cramps. And, I heard this years ago and I never really tried it, but now it's like a staple. So I always have like a chocolate cacao, like just dark chocolate cacao. That always helps. Giving yourself like a nice womb rub really helps. And really connecting, like not going like, I want the pain to go away, rubbing your space to go, what are you trying to tell me? Like what needs to be let go, giving yourself a bath, like all of those little things we can do. Like I said, after time, they lead up to big change. And after a while, you'll be so connected and you'll be so pain-free that you will wonder why you spent all these years in pain in the first place.
So true. I'm working on that. I've been moving pain out little by little for a while now, and each day gets a little better. So I love it. I honor it. If you are just tuning in, we are the Alchemy Sisters, and we're here with Nui Louise talking about all kinds of wonderful things. If you're interested in getting a hold of the Alchemy Sisters, you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/the Alchemy Sisters. Jennie and I are always sharing all kinds of different little healing resources and memes to make you laugh and, things to make your heart sing a little bit. And we always share our shows, and we always share the current work of guests who've been on previously. We also have a website. It's currently called the Alchemy Ascension Academy.com. It will be shifting, though, to our new project, which is going to be Heart Over the Ego. And as we continue to create it, we'll tell you all about it. So we just honor you and thank you for tuning in and listening. So, Jennie, is there anything you wanted to discuss in this second part of our show?
Nope, I'm glad that you gave everyone our information. And just to reiterate, we're here every Monday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that's 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And each week we have a different healer powerhouse on. And today we have Nui, and we're excited to have her. Let's see. I didn't have any big topics today. It was kind of like a chill week of just regular flow of work. I was going to ask Nui how many children she had and how many of them were girls.
So I just have one. I just have one daughter. I was always adamant I was going to be just, the auntie, but she came by surprise and she accelerated my journey. From the moment I found out I was pregnant, it was like, here you go. I'm going to wake you up now. So she's been a gift in so many ways. But I'm just one for me. I'm happy with one.
Happy with one? And then did you say she was 6 or 16? I didn't make that out.
She's 6, so 10 years until she's 16. So I've still got 10 years before we get to there.
And then I'm reading her energy just from afar, and you've got fantastic energy. Of course, she chose your womb to come out of because she's also an old soul. I'm just curious, is she showing any special talents as of yet in the, empath world? Does she seem to have any special topics that she's interested in, or is it too soon quite yet for her?
It's interesting. She's very imaginative. So she imagine plays a lot, and so cool. It's funny to watch. She's 6, heading into 7, and I know that at this age they start to leave the kind of spirit world behind a little and enter into the more ego presence. And so we're just trying to prolong that process for her of staying in the spirit world, if that makes any sense, and being able to pull that over into the physical world when she starts to realize that, oh, like, shit, I'm human, you know. So I wouldn't say that she's got specific gifts per se, but I think that one of her biggest things will be creation through imagination, because she has this way of just going, like, I want this, or I need this, and it happens like straight away, and it's because of her belief in it, but she's already created that in her mind, and the way that she does it, sometimes me and my husband go, what? She just asked for that, and then it just popped up. That's crazy. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, because I kind of like, it's as a mom and someone who is intuitive myself, I kind of want to step back and allow her to have the experience herself, because there were times where I thought I could try and control it, and like, you can't really do that. So yeah, stepping back and allowing her to just be in the presence of her.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm so glad she chose you. I love it when I see high-vibe individuals ushering in little high-vibe individuals. It just pleases me, and it feels like we're winning when I hear about it. So thank you.
We are winning. We're definitely winning. And it's interesting because my husband is very, like, he's very much mind man. You know, his dad was a molecular biologist, and so he's a very science-based guy. And so it's really nice because I think she has a good balance of, and I've just got my husband into Joe Dispenza, so which is amazing because it's like he speaks my language, but he also speaks his language. So it's great. So I think that our daughter has a great balance of that masculine and feminine, you know what I mean, of that mind and that intuition and all of those types of things. So, yeah.
Wonderful. I like to call those kids hybrids. You know, they got that artistic, imaginative, but yet science back. It's really quite brilliant and balanced. It always makes me think of, like, Einstein, you know, got both angles coming in. It makes them a superior, intelligent, well-rounded individual. Excellent.
It's a beautiful way to look at it, actually.
Yeah, you've got a magical little sprout on your hands. You have fun with that, Mama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and every day is.
I did want to talk to. I was talking to Nui last week a little bit, and we were sharing some similar energy and feelings around some stuff that we've been seeing in the community, particularly with women who are evolving spiritually and growing. And there seems to be somewhat with some, not with everyone, but, you know, with a good amount, there seems to be a lot of, I guess what's the best way to describe it? I guess with a lot of seeing with one another with competition as opposed to compassion, and this need to constantly to give and receive, which is important, but there's a little bit more to that. And Nick Nui had so many like wise words around it and thoughts around it that I kind of wanted to ask what your impressions of all that energy that we've been, many of us have been seeing right now on the rise between women.
Me?
Yeah, Nui.
Yeah,
sorry.
it's yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, our conversation last week like sparked a lot in me because, you know, we're talking about how there has been a big rise. You know, a lot of women are waking up and they're reaching these like great levels, but it's also very unreachable for a lot of women to actually get to them and their work. And so for me personally, I've had to actually check in and say like, okay, you're here to create change, and yes, I want to be compensated for that, you know, as an energy exchange, but do I need to put a ridiculous amount of money on a package in order to make it worthy of the work that I'm doing, or can I keep it at a price that is accessible to everyone and be able to create more change on a bigger level? I know so many people, like, especially online, and this is why I'm happy to bring my work back to the physical, because online it's really hard to know what you're getting until you've paid for it. And sometimes you think you need all these things, and then you pay for these courses and you're not getting anything out of it. You're still walking away confused and detached from yourself. And after, I took a few months off at the end of last year because I had to get my ego in check when it came to the work that I was doing. And I really wanted to reevaluate the energy I was putting out there, because a lot of women in the field, connect online, which is fantastic. It's so great that we have a tool like that. But what was happening and what is still happening is that, sometimes people add you on your social medias and they start conversations and you think that you're really connecting with a like-minded person, and then they start selling you stuff, unsolicited selling, and they start selling you stuff. And when you don't want to buy the stuff, you're no longer connected. I've had people add me into groups and then kick me out because I'm not paying, even though I was added into them. I've just had to go through my whole foundation of online and in person and ask, why is this happening for me? What is this trying to teach me? And so I took some time off social media, and I also disconnected from about 15 groups online because I didn't want to buy anything. I just want connection. And I think that's all that we all really want. We want connection, community, and healing, and, to be heard and to be held. And I think that, as women in this field, or even as people in this field, it's really time for us to check back in and ask, what am I doing this for? Am I doing it because I want to create that healing, or am I doing it because I want a bank full of money? And there's nothing wrong with having money, absolutely not, and I think that's a huge wound that needs to be healed in general in this field. Is a lot of people, we have the ones that overcharge, and then we have the ones that don't charge at all. And it's about meeting in the middle, knowing that your work is worth it, but also asking yourself, why are you doing this? What's the intention you're putting out there? Because if we're doing it out of greed, we're only going to create more of what we've got here on this earth. I mean, you only have to look around at our current governments in every country to see that greed is not working. It's just not. And even if your intention is to heal in the first place, just check in and ask, how many people can actually access this? And I think for women, we have been underpaid for centuries. We have been pushed aside, and healing needs to be more accessible to everybody. And forgetting how much money they have, and asking how can I genuinely help this person? Go home to them. And I think that's the biggest, for me, I've had to ask, why am I doing this work? And it's not because I want to be a leader that leads everyone to somewhere. I want to be a guide that guides them home to themselves, because that's where true healing happens. I can't do anything, but all I can do is hold that space for you to discover that for yourself, So I think, there's a lot of discussion that needs to happen in this field to check back in with intentions and ask, are you being greedy?
Yeah, and then, of course, there's the flip side of it, which you mentioned, which is, am I being too greedy, or am I giving away all of my information and depleting my energy with no kickback, no trade and response? So you can flip to both sides, and I've seen this argument on the Internet often, and I sometimes jump into it because someone will post so blanket statemently, you should never charge for spiritual work. And I'm like, you're perpetuating the problem. The reason women haven't been paid for what we're worth is because people don't put a dollar value on emotional support. Well, it is something. It does take energy, and it's nice to, if you're giving it away, that's nice. But if you need something in return, that's nice too. And that's having good boundaries of saying, hey, I have a limited energy per day, and if I just give it all away, there's nothing left for me to then sustain my family or myself. So there's always an interesting debate. I think it should be in the middle, like you discussed, not too greedy, but then also, charge a little something so that you can give yourself a little bit of petty cash to maybe learn more, or to, help you out if something comes up. Because what happens in that argument, and the way that I pull it every time, I'm like, well, okay, interesting thought that you don't think healers should get paid. Interesting, just across the board. But then I say, if athletes we'd only have mediocre athletes because they'd have to work a full-time job and then try to get good on the weekends or better on the weekends. Do you want an excellent healer who dives in 24/7, eats, breathes, and sleeps it? Or do you want someone who practices a couple hours a week or day because they're so busy with their day job because they have to pay bills? I'm like, if you want excellence, if you want above average, we have to support these people, artists, musicians,
absolutely,
healers, every type of position.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just signed up for breathwork training, and the academy that I've gone through for the training offered a scholarship, and so I applied for the scholarship. I didn't get it, but it really made me go, oh, you know what? I can offer that. Within all the circles and stuff that I do. I can afford to do that because I'm still getting, nicely, a nice energetic exchange from what I'm giving out. And what's allowing someone in who can't afford it, who is crying out for help but just cannot afford it. I can do that. And so it was really beautiful to have that. Like, I'm still going to the training and I think there's a huge lesson in that is like you don't have to give everything away, but what can you give, and still stay within your means, because we do have to survive. Absolutely. Unfortunately, we need money.
As of now, capitalism is ruling the roost. Yes, as of now.
Yes.
Part over the ego.
But not for long. I love how you emphasize that.
It's brilliant, and it's true, and I've seen so many models of, the life coaching industry has been around for a while, and now that really merges with spirituality industry, and it's constantly, my favorite and hated question all the time is, what's your worth, and why don't you charge your worth? And like, oh, think of what your worth is and then double it, or think of what your worth is and then triple it. And I get uncomfortable with that. And they're like, oh, that's just because you don't have enough, self-love and self-care. And it's like, no, because I want to be affordable and reach as many people as I can, while still caring for myself at the same time. And I think Nui, I don't know why I keep saying Nikki. It's the second time I did that tonight. I am so sorry, sister.
That's all right.
I think I'm just going so fast. I think Nui hit the nail on the head there with that, and really this whole discussion and everything that she's mentioned about it. And it's about finding this balance, and it's about making sure that we're honoring ourselves and we're honoring others. And Jennie and I, that's why we do this podcast. This is our giveaway, our give back. To help share as much wisdom and intuition, within a time frame that we can with people each week, and have different topics so that we're constantly moving energy. I think scholarship programs are brilliant, and when Jennie and I dream up our big healing place eventually in the future, we're always talking about how we can get people there with a smaller investment, because a lot of it too is helping people to heal so that they can heal that wound and start attracting their own financial abundance for themselves. And that's the whole point. Like, my point is to work with people to the point where they don't need me, or if they do, it's just to come back for a little bit of a boost up, because that means that I've done my work and what I needed to get done. And it feels like this.
Too,
really Oh yeah, go ahead, sister.
Yeah, because I think even I seek healing as well, and I think that's the main thing as anyone in this work is to remember that you also need what you're giving out. So often we we think our self-care is just our meditation and things like that, but no, we also have to realign ourselves. And if anyone is wondering how can I keep myself in my integrity in this, in the energy exchange of my work, just look at it as the flow of the masculine and the feminine, and ask how that's feeling inside you. Are you allowing the flow of both energies to come and go naturally, or is one being forced out more than the other, and the other one's being kept? Because when we do that, we keep our feminine so hidden away, and our masculine's out there forcing the energy out into the world. And so we've got to rein that back. and let that flow. And that's the practice I've been doing over the last couple of weeks. While I'm looking at all of my creations that I'm putting out into the world, I want to put them out there with my integrity intact, you know, and really checking in with like what I am here to do. And that's all that I can picture myself is like, how's the flow of energy going within my field? Is it evenly, you know, being like, is it flowing, or is it like, you know, raging in some parts? I think that's a great practice for anyone who's wondering, how can I check myself?
Absolutely.
Yeah, really important because, you know.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jen. Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, just because we're cyclical beings, and you can't always be in bloom. Your turn.
Got a little bit of a lag there. Yeah, you know, I think it's important just to check in with every topic that you are exposed to as a human and how you respond to it, and always be open to dig in and to see where roots are coming from and feelings and helping others look too, if you care for someone, holding space for them. Such a human practice and a very highly spiritual practice is to put the ego aside and just look and unveil and continue moving in that space. Hard to do sometimes, and sometimes, you know, sometimes my ego's flaring, and I'm just like, hey, I'm a human, I'm going to let it flare for just a second, and then I try to, you know, put it aside and then look at, whoa, that was an intense feeling. What is the trigger? What's my major malfunction? And then I look at it lightly and joke with myself and be light with myself. Not, oh, you had the shame and guilt, you should feel even worse about that. No, that adds more gas to the fire. Being patient with yourself and loving yourself and knowing that's what we come here in the physical to do, amongst other things, but to really dive in and feel and learn and expose ourselves. It's literally the reason we come here.
Yeah, and I think like what are you calling your new program? Is it the heart over ego? I love that. Like when you said that before, I was like, oh wow, that's such a beautiful way to think about it. Like, you know, I'm like, I'm going to take that as a tool, just that one sentence, heart over ego, because when I'm feeling that, I can insert my heart over there. You know what I mean? Yeah, and so like that name works. It works. It really does. It triggers a little bit of like,
had a meeting. Mandee and I just had a meeting the other day where we were like, wow, should we change our, website domain we were talking about, Mandee? And we're like, let's just go with it. Let's just use our mantra for everything and just put it out there and really push that sentence, because it says so much and it's so layered. And yes, it's our old but new thing. We've always said it, but now we're really going to start standing behind it and using it as a mantra.
Well, it works because it got my heart jumping.
Oh, good. Yeah, Jennie introduced it a while ago. We had this little project, the Momentum Coalition, and then we switched to doing our show, and we kind of birthed our Alchemy Ascension Academy, but maybe a little bit before its time, and we know that's going to grow. But this whole time, what's stuck is the heart over the ego, because it's something that you can use in every single moment of mindfulness in life and say, you know, am I making decisions based on what my heart wants most? Or am I making decisions based on what other people think or might think? And if I'm doing that, that might be feeding the ego. Or, you know, what is my intention behind this? And the whole idea is just to get we need our egos. I consider my ego, you know, one of my best friends and closest confidants, but she can't be in charge. The heart has to be in charge. And so it's going to be this really nice kind of movement that we have. And I just can't wait to see what's birthed from it, because it feels really good, and it sticks in your heart, and it sticks in your mind, and it sticks in your soul.
It's part of the reason we picked the Alchemy Sisters as a name for our show, because we like to say heart over ego and then alchemize ego into heart energy, and just shifting and changing that dynamic is kind of like our MO. To save the planet, not to be too dramatic, but really.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what a whole lot of us tune down and do.
Yeah, and blending the two, you know, like you said, like to alchemize it instead of pushing one away, invite it in.
Yes, we often talk about that, the tool. The ego being a tool. Like Mandee, you were hitting on that perfectly.
Absolutely.
We do talk about that often, where we're not trying to get rid of it. We're just trying to manage it so we can have it as like a workhorse. Like if you had zero ego, you'd be a doormat and you wouldn't think much of yourself. Well, healthy ego says, I am, I can, I will. And that's the tool, not I'm better than, and, you know, all that yucky ego. But ego can be absolutely used as a tool to further yourself in everything. Just keeping it in check is, you know, important. Like I like sweets. I can't eat them all the time. I got to keep my health in check. It's just we can use them, but just keep them in check and manage it and keep it under control. And it's hard enough. I mean, look at what gurus end up doing. I mean, how often do you have a guru that makes it to their death without a huge scandal or 20? You know, it's just so difficult. I think too, restricting, like pretending you've done the work and that you like, you know, pushing your ego down and like I'm not, you know, I think that can be detrimental in the long run. Like you said, it's interesting because I had many ego deaths last year, and after I just came out of my, you know, I took a month off social media, and I've had a few months like just off, and in really aligning my physical world. I came out of it and, you know, I'm in a really good space now. I've moved and, you know, my life is just, it's perfect. But over the last couple of weeks, I've had to identify these fears and these insecurities. And I thought, like, I was like, oh my God, it's my ego. It's my ego. And I couldn't quite pinpoint like what was going on until I pulled a card from a healer who did some beautiful work on me. And she said, take it home. And it was the ego card. And it was the false entrapment of the ego. So I had created this like false idea that I was entrapped by my ego, and I wasn't, you know. And the moment I went, oh, I'm not, my life just opened up and flowed again, you know. And so it's like, yeah, if we go too much into the ego work and thinking that we have to, you know, wrangle it down and do all this stuff, we can become stuck in that, and it's debilitating. And after the experience I just had, I'm like, right, I know what that feels like now. I know what that false entrapment feels like, and I'm going to be very conscious not to do that to myself again. You know, I'm not allowing that fear or insecurity to keep me in that space anymore. Brilliant.
It's the challenge.
That's a high vibe lesson there that you just nailed. And, you know, you can see in every major religion that we know of using guilt and shame and you know, fear to keep people in a box. It's too heavy at that point, and I'm glad people are seeing it. I do like the idea of there being churches in the future. I don't think we have to just get rid of them all, but you can see with the decline of churchgoers or congregation, I guess we can say, over the years, it's just dropped, and all these scandals with the Catholic Church, and you know, they sit up there on top of everyone with the guilt and shame. Many religions carry it, but you know, the Catholics are notorious for it. So it's like you just see all these constructs that have been just so egoed, fear-based out, just crumbling, imploding, if you will. You can also see it with the United States government. And that's what happens. That's why the Tower card is so awesome in a tarot deck. It's like people get fearful with the Tower. I'm like, no, let it crash. We have a better skill set to build something better and more sustainable.
Yeah, and you know, whenever I get the Tower card for my clients, sometimes they freak out, and I'm like, no. You know, I use Rebecca Campbell's deck, so it's the crumbling. But I love that because it's a call to you for you to work on your foundation. You know, if your foundation's strong, you can crumble as many times. Your walls can crumble as many times as they need. Your foundation is always there, and I think that's like the most important is asking like, what is in the foundation of you? Like, what's underneath it all? And really building yourself up from that, you know, not building false walls based on fear and insecurity, building them up from the foundation. So I love the Tower card too.
I like it. Oh, especially in this day and age. We have to see some Tower falling action if we want to create something more sustainable. I see it on Facebook with funny memes, and I've felt it for years. I'm like, we are really kind of in a new age Rome crashing and burning. Like ego has gotten way out of hand, the patriarchy, capitalism, greed, you know, anger has gotten so out of control that it kind of has to crash because it burned itself into the ground, and now we get front row seats to it, and we talk about it often here on the show where you can control a couple things in my spiritual teachings. This is what I understand to be true. You can choose a couple things, one of which is the womb you come through. which doesn't mean anything after you come out of the womb. Lots of things can happen at the roll of the dice, but you choose the womb and you choose the time frame, the date. So a lot of us healers coming in that are, in our 30s and 40s right now had a little plan in the non-physical where we were like, who's all going? We're going to need a big flush, a royal flush. Who's going? We need like millions, and so jumping in and being the pioneer type to come in and just break systems and stand there while they crumble and have the tenacity and strength to build after. And that's us. That's the rogue souls. I love us. I love us so much. All of us that have decided to come to this planet right now. It takes some nerve and it takes some skill. And I'm always like, I give everyone a nod, even if they're struggling and they don't think they're growing and they're not growing very much. I give them a nod. It doesn't matter. Just showing up, you do. I'm going to hand out everyone participation trophies. I don't care what everyone says about participation trophies. I'm going to give everyone one because you deserve one just showing up here.
I love that. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Oh, it's so true. Just so our listeners know, we had a tiny bit of a technical difficulty getting our show started. And Nui, I didn't get to ask you, do you have to run or do you have a few extra minutes to keep chatting with us? We do have a caller. I thought it might be fun to take a caller. Okay, cool. And then I figured if you had to run or had a client, we could just, let you bow out. But let's do it. Let's see who's calling and what they need support with. So we're going to take a caller. It's area code 585. So let's see. Hi, 585. You are on the air with the Alchemy Sisters. Who are we speaking to?
This is Jennie. I was actually listening, but that's
you
fine.
were just listening in?
Yeah, but that's fine. I guess it was meant for me to ask a question or see what's going on.
Meant to be, I suppose. Yeah, I came right in here, and you're the only one, so I thought, why not? So what's going on for you, Jennie? You have me, I'm Mandee, and you've got Jennie and Nui, and we're all intuitive healers, and would love to support you if there's anything you want to take a look at.
Okay, great. Whatever my spirit guide and guardian angel wants to tell me, let me know or warn me about.
Okay. Do you want to kick us off, Jennie? Jennie, are you still with us?
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yep, there you are. Yep. Do you want to kick us off, Jennie?
Yeah, I do. I just want to hear what her last couple words were. She said she would like to hear, any messages from spirit guides, and then she said a couple other words at the end. What was that?
Oh, my spirit guide and my guardian angels.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that was it. Okay, let's just take a look here. Let's bring in my spirit guides are showing up, so let's just take a look at what they have to show us off the bat. Can you say your name one more time?
Jennie.
Jennie? Yes, well, they're flashing a few past lives, so we'll just start there, and I'll let it go around the clock here and let the other girls take a swing at it too. But just off the top, they're showing several past lives. There's particular ones that they want me to showcase really quickly here. One of which is there's a pattern, and you've lived lots of past lives, or parallel lives is really what they are. But you've lived lots of them. But there's a common denominator with traveling, nomadic, gypsy style. And I know nomadic can look totally different than gypsy, but they're all traveling groups. And they say that you have a lot of those. Just really a pattern of really enjoying that space. They're showing you being intuitive and doing tarot card readings like in a traveling circusy kind of energy. They're also showing you being a spiritual guide for people. They're just showing you have this absolute healer motif. You come in and hold space just naturally. I don't know if you're in the healing arts this lifetime, but this is just something that you have a stronghold in your other lives. Let's just take a look and see if there's anything else they want to showcase here. Well, they want to remind you of something. They're telling you this pattern of your past life to remind you, and maybe it'll just be beneficial for what you're going through or what's in your life or whatever right now, but they're showing a lot of warrior. So they're saying that you've been a man in a warrior situation. Less war, more warrior, tribal. Less World War II, more protect the Indian, the Native American tribe that I live amongst. But
Yeah,
see, they're showing that you have that rogue soul that we were talking about, that I was just talking about a few minutes ago, that all of us who seem to pop in as here to be healers often also have the warrior back, which is kind of required for the environment. So they're showing warrior as masculine, but then feminine. They're showing feminine tribal groups that you're in where you're a warrior in that space. But they just want to reiterate and pull from those parallel existences and introduce or reintroduce or just add, however you want to say it, this strength in your solar plexus, center of the stomach, doing a little spin on the solar plexus. It's yellow, kind of putting, reminding you and putting the essence there. That's all that's coming off the top for me. Girls, are you getting anything?
Yeah, I am, Jeannie. I got some angel messages. Are you going through a little bit of change and transition right now?
Oh, yes. I just moved in. Just a lot of kind of family problems, personal problems going on.
Yeah, that's what they showed. It was more internal movement, less like physical movement. You're not moving across the country tomorrow or anything, but lots of different change. Yeah, lots of change happening internally. And what they want you to do is to meet each and every person and situation, from your heart and out of loving assertiveness, and simply speak your truth and let that be. And don't worry so much about actions and reactions of others. It's they're also saying it's just very important to honor your feelings at this time. Your feelings are sacred and they're important and they're powerful for you, and they're going to be your catalyst in really ascending and growing at this point in your life. And it's important to kind of see them and feel them and honor them and then release them. If you have a rough morning, they don't want you to hold on to it for the whole day. And they want you to breathe it out as soon as you can or allow it to move through you. You're also very much ascending, and there's lots of things moving out of you at a cellular level at this time. So if you just have a down day and you don't even know what's causing it, don't even worry about it. Just honor it, go and listen to some sad music or watch a movie that makes you feel a little bit better or consoles you. And don't worry about trying to figure out what the trigger is so much or what the trauma is. Just they want you to honor it and to move through you. And then the last one, too, they're saying it's the Divine Mother, and she's just coming in to remind you that you are not too old to be mothered and that you must mother and nurture yourself as much as possible, whether that's just taking a walk in the sunshine or feeding yourself some good food or going to bed early or taking some alone time. You very much say she wants to remind you that you are not too old to be mothered and you must mother yourself as much as possible at this time. And you're doing great things, and this change and transition is not easy right now, but it's really going to grow you. So they want you to hang in there.
Okay, great.
Okay, excellent. Nui, did you have anything you might want to add?
I do, and it's funny, before you pulled out the mother, I was sinking into your energy, Jeannie, and it was just I could feel so much mother coming through, so I nearly pinched myself when you said that, because I was like, oh, I feel it. But you're being called to get grounded here. You're feeling a little flighty maybe, and you've got to get grounded, get back to the earth and dance. I pulled a card each for your masculine and your feminine, and your feminine's asking to be grounded, that you're getting a lot of intuitive hits, and you're trying to take action before you're grounding them down. And so I think a beautiful practice, a practice for you is to allow the guidance to come. Imagine it going down into the earth, bring it back up, and then ask, what am I meant to do? And go with your intuition like that and dance. Your masculine is crying out for a little bit of fun here, and to remember to dance with life. Don't get too rigid in the mind. Don't get too rigid in the way that you're meant to be showing up for whatever situation. Think back into that groundedness and dance. Your vibration wants to be shifted and shifted often, because there's a lot coming through here. But dance. Have you ever been a dancer, or did you used to dance and you don't dance anymore?
Yes, I used to love to dance.
Yeah, so you're being called to dance again. It's medicine for you. yeah, so, I mean, when you hang up from here, go put some tunes on and ground yourself down with a little bit of dancing, because that gets you, you know, in all kinds of states of awareness and joy and love, and, you know, shakes off anything that is perceived to be heavy. Shake it all off. So that's what I'm getting there for you.
Great.
Wow, how beautiful. Thank you, Jeannie. And I know you didn't mean to call in, but it was certainly divine timing. And thank you so much for allowing us to hold space for you and share messages with you. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, and I'm continue to listen.
Oh, you are so welcome. Bye.
Thank you. You ladies have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.
Oh, that was so wonderful.
I just love layered healing like that. I love working with my girls and just my healer people. It's just so refreshing when we often just give everyone a little dose of what we do, and it just comes together and looks beautiful, and there's a multi-layered healing as opposed to just, you know, it's the way I see healing being so popular in the future. It's layered. You don't just go see one doctor. You see many, because there's many angles of our health. So I just love it when I get to team up with other good healers and offer support to people. It makes me happy.
I agree. I do that all the time with my own clients. I'm always like, we had a really great session, but go see my friend so-and-so. She can help you with this, and go see that person because they can take you into this level. And it's kind of part of healing that wound that we were talking about earlier. And, like, we all have our own little bit of magic and our little bit of ways to help each other. And, you know, there isn't one size fits all, and you don't have to just be one healer, and you don't have to be one part of one sisterhood or one group. You know, there's just so much, and it's about your individual journey and what you take from, you know, each and every experience that you have. And I just love that dance card came up, because that's my biggest waker and shaker. And even when I was on crutches or with a broken back, if it was just sitting in my bed and kind of swaying side to side, the rhythm of dance is just incredibly healing and incredibly powerful.
And we all need to be reminded to dance with life. You know, like we don't dance with life enough and allow the currents to, like, move through us and move us and with us and, you know, and with it and play, because that's the most beautiful thing about life, is that we get to dance with it, you know, when we allow ourselves.
Exactly.
Love it.
Exactly. This was such a beautiful conversation. Nui, would you mind one more time if you would share with our listeners how they can get a hold of you if they want some future questions or to follow your work?
Yeah, sure. So you can follow me on Instagram or on Facebook at Nui Louise. Or actually on Instagram, I'm actually called It's Soul Good now, so I changed my handle because I thought it's Soul Good. You can also find me at nuilouise.com. I do readings. If you're local to Armidale and you're listening in, I've got a lot of in-house workshops happening, and I'm hoping to be offering some online stuff in the next 6 months. But like I mentioned before, I'm really looking forward to grounding my work here in the physical, and then see where it takes me. So yeah, you can follow me and follow my work. I'm always putting out videos and blogs and, you know, little tips and stories. I love to tell stories of my own healing journey. Yeah, so nuilouise.com, you can find me there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on our show again, sister. We just love jamming with you and holding space, and thank you for helping us with that reading. You're incredible, and you're a light in this world, and you're needed, and you're a badass, and we are grateful for you.
Thank you both for having me. I really appreciate it, and it's always just such a nice jam out. Like, you know, one day we'll do this in a physical presence, I think, because I'd love to meet you too, Jennie, and vibe.
Yes, I agree. I think that
Thank
Mandee and I would absolutely, we'll figure that as soon as we can. Mandee, we're going to get to Australia, okay? We're going to get there. We're going to check the healing vibe. We're going to hang out with Nui. We'll get in the physical. We'll do maybe a little lecture. It'll be wonderful. Start manifesting that now. We'll land it next year. Great.
Manifesting now.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to come to Florida at the end of the year. It's on my list. It's on my list now, so It's going to happen.
Cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you both for having me.
It's our honor, And thank you to all of our listeners for listening in and being here and showing up for yourselves and one another and just tuning in and seeing what you can pick up and what you can improve in your own life today. I'm going to pass the microphone on over to Jennie because she always does such a fantastic job of closing us out.
Thank you, Mandee. I want to tell everyone again that we're here every Monday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll be here every Monday having different topics. Sometimes we'll have callers. Sometimes we'll just do some talking. We love it when you show up, and we want you to keep showing up. If you have any topics that you'd like to learn about or be informed about, send us an email. You can reach us at the Alchemy Sisters on Facebook and the Alchemy Ascension Academy at Gmail. And just reach out, let us know what you think. If you want to be a guest on our show, let us know what you're into. What light do you shine? And, of course, everyone shines one. We want to know your color and what you're into. So give us a call, give us an email, give us a message. We appreciate you all, and everyone have a lovely evening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.